Today on AI Applied, we're back to talking about Perplexity, which is something that I still love. And we're talking about Perplexity Labs, which is moving from things that, can like answer questions and things like that to actually building digital products, which actually seems really cool. And Jaeden, the first question I'm going to have for you, kind of like out of the box, is going to be like, Perplexity is trying to be like everything still, which is just wild to me that they're going out there. By the way, just because we just got out of this conversation, guys, if you have not checked out Jaden's school community at KOOL on his AI hustle, so sorry, we're gonna get into this, but I was asking him about like Operator and how, I'm like, oh, my son Finn and I are trying to use Operator right now, and the AI agent that run by OpenAI, it's trying, and Jaden's like, oh yeah, I'm using that in like 3 different workflows. I'm like, what? So anyway, so Jaeden continues to be a magical wizard on this kind of stuff, and it's only on school that he releases it. He doesn't let us talk about it on the podcast. He's like, that's for my AI hustle school community, $19 a month. Anyway, check it out. It's so worthwhile. Hundreds of people are already there. Okay, listen, Perplexity. Jaeden, on this, like, first of all, are you buying where's Perplexity going? First of all, it seems like they really are trying to compete with Google, ChatGPT, or OpenAI, everybody else, which is amazing. But this Perplexity Labs is one of the first times where I'm like, you know what? I would actually use some of this stuff. What did you think?
Yep. No, 100%. I think a lot of times when these kind of tools come out, people like glaze over them because they're like spreadsheets, like whatever. Like I need my AI responses for my AI things, and I'll plug them into my own stuff. I was recently in a situation where someone had, they said the same thing when the PDF thing came out of ChatGPT. I probably even had like a sort of pessimistic take on that as well. And I was recently on the road going somewhere, not literally driving. Do not worry, I wasn't using my phone driving. But I was recently out of the house, and someone had asked me for a letter of recommendation because they were applying for a school as one of my past interns for AI Box. And I was, I was in like a rush. And I don't know about you, but sometimes like when I get like a message and they had followed up on something that asked for before, I'm like, if I don't do it in this very second, I might just forget again, and I'll feel bad because they're already following up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I need to do it that instant. I wasn't going to wait till I got home. In any case, I went to chat in like 5 seconds, said, hey, there's this person. These are the things they worked on in our project. These are the things they were good at. Please write them a letter of recommendation for this university and for this program that they're doing. Like, it's like I didn't even feel bad because I put some very specific things that they did, but it still only took me like 5 seconds. I'm voice to texting this thing. It writes it all out, and I'm like, okay, this looks perfect. And then I go to the website where they need me to submit it, and it's like, please upload a PDF. And first of all, like, come on, ASU, why are you making me upload a PDF letter of recommendation? I should be able to copy and paste something in. But anyways, I go to ChatGPT, and it was very easy. I'm just like, okay, turn this letter of recommendation into a PDF. Boom, turns it into a PDF. I download it onto my phone in 1 click, upload it, and submit it in 1 second. So I think some of these tools that people bag on, like the ones coming out of Perplexity right now, like they're like, oh, it can make spreadsheets, it can make dashboards, like whatever. I have my own spreadsheet tool, my own dashboard tool. It's going to get to a point where these AI software companies are just so good at doing these things, you're actually going to stop using the specialized tools, I think, for a lot of use cases. Maybe not all. Maybe sometimes you're going to use Adobe Acrobat to get really deep on a PDF and edit the things on it and stuff. And like, I understand that use case, but like for on the go, getting it done quick, me turning a project that would be an hour into 5 minutes, this was a lifesaver on ChatGPT. And I could see Perplexity being the same kind of thing with some of their tools.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, I was just looking at demos. I haven't tried Perplexity Labs. It's very new. I saw some people getting excited about this online, and some people I trust. I don't know, Jaeden, if this is sort of like artifacts, right? Sort of like how Claude Artifacts works, where, and if you can imagine how Claude does this. And also, by the way, ChatGPT does this when it does something like Canvas or something like that. It sort of like almost opens a new window on the side and sort of like creates it. But here's the big thing about this that I think we don't talk about enough, which is, and this is going to sound cliche, so I'll put some meat on it, but it's, you have to find the things that are useful for you, right? So we have some of our friends, and you and I have a lot of the same kind of like friends in this space, but they're like, oh yeah, I've been spinning up, like a new dashboard for this, or hey, I created this web app and, in 2 prompts or whatever. I got to tell you, Jaeden, like that's not my world. Like I don't need dashboards. I don't need web apps, things like that. Like I like to test it because my world is testing this stuff, but it's not what I do every day. Whereas if somebody says, hey, this is a phenomenal writer, and I still think Claude is a phenomenal writer, and and putting in spreadsheets and doing a ton of analysis, and I use O3 for essentially as a consultant for my little company AI Mindset, and we work a lot with really big enterprise, and one of the things is that if we're doing like new pricing models or something, I'll just spend like an hour and a half with O3 going over that and treating it like a consultant. I do that all the time. And every once in a while I'll do deep research. Whereas my son Finn, who does this stuff a ton, he's using like Operator because he's like, oh, the website is like really difficult to navigate. So he's using it for that, or for school, he has to do something. Anyway, I say all that to say the hardest thing about trying to get folks like using these tools or experimenting is you don't know what is going to be like the magic case for them, and so for example, like, we're for Father's Day coming up, right? We're going to be going to a Mets game at Citi Field, and I was thinking like, okay, well, my wife has to go, Liz has to go to, London right after that or something like that. And so, where should we park? And so she can get the Uber and we'll drive home. And it was like walking me through exactly where to park, where to do all this kind of stuff. And to me, that's very simple to people, but it was a magical thing because I'm like, that's exactly what I need to know. I don't know how I would have figured out otherwise. So with these things, these spreadsheets, dashboards, we can get excited about them. But what Jaeden just told you was so critical because it's like, hey, I just need to put something into a PDF, and you just do it mindlessly, forgetting that now these tools can help you put something into a PDF. So if that's all you do, that's your use case. So I guess that my sort of like conclusion here is like, just forget about like what AI can do. Just think like, what am I doing all the time? And then think, okay, so can AI do that yet? Because chances are it might be able to.
Yep, 100%. And I think this is a trend we're going to see with a lot more of these AI companies. Like when they first came out, ChatGPT was chatting with an LLM. Like that's what it did. You give it a prompt, it gives you a response. Then they added browsing the internet. Then they added, like the GPTs. Like these things just get bigger and bigger. And if I'm being honest, they're getting more and more useful. So a lot of people will be like, oh, why do we need all these things? Or they're killing startups or they're whatever. But like if it's honestly going to make my workflow faster and more useful, I'm super, super on board with it. Perplexity and their whole thing. I mean, I think with the spreadsheets, the dashboards, all of this are just more tools that they're adding on top of LLMs. And Perplexity has to do this because they kind of started out as a company that, and still are a company that very heavily leverages other AI models. I believe they have their own that they sort of use, but like most of people are probably using ChatGPT or Claude like inside of Perplexity. But in any case, so they really they have to be the company that really focuses on the software that helps support and does additional things that maybe ChatGPT or Claude doesn't do. So I'm actually excited about what they've been doing. They've been doing their like Perplexity pages for quite a while, and so it seems like kind of like an addition or extension to that in a bunch of ways. They do have deeper research on Perplexity now, which I think is great. We've had a bunch of other people recently roll out the deep research, including I believe Claude now kind of has that a little bit more with their latest models. Yeah, I'm really excited to see kind of new tools and features come out of these models. I think it's going to make it more useful. It speeds up your whole process. One thing that they did say that was interested is said labs can develop and deploy simple interactive mini apps directly within the apps tab in your project. This enables you to create basic dashboard slideshows, websites without external development tools. What's cool about that is it's like it will run the code. So you can make a website, but you don't have to like just generate code and then copy and paste it to a code place and click run. Like it can actually run some things and do some things inside of its own dashboard. And you're creating mini apps. So to me, that is very cool. I'm also, of course, very interested in that because of my work I'm doing with AI Box, and we're building a no-code AI app builder. So I'm excited to see what Perplexity does there in this space. And yeah, overall, the more features and tools that AI models add, I think is actually making them more useful and should hopefully help them grow for revenue and users.
Yeah, I think so too, and that's proven out by the fact that I think Perplexity's raised something like close to $1 billion at this point, and they're valued. I don't know if they got their value up to 14 billion or something, but this is, I think that a lot of people thought when ChatGPT, when Google, everything else started building their search engine like really into their tools, that okay, that's the end of Perplexity. Perplexity sort of like started it off, but they're not going to finish it. I don't know. I still use Perplexity all the time. And why? Because it's fantastic. What you said about building on top of Claude. Claude's my favorite writer. And so when I ask it for something, the output it gives me is just absolutely fantastic, even if I'm not using all these other things. So Perplexity is trying to be all things. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know exactly what their end game is, because ultimately, like, it's very hard to compete with a Google and all that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, I've started to use Google AI mode and all that kind of stuff like a little more. But until Google like makes that the default, I don't know why I'm not going with Perplexity, especially because I like the output better. So again, it's really like, what are you trying to do? And with AI Box, which is really just such a cool tool that I've seen that, as Jaeden's built and everything, like you guys do tons of coding. Like I don't do tons of coding, but all this stuff where it's like when you see like what Perplexity is saying it can do, it's like, hey, create a spreadsheet where, it'll track all my, I think the reason that I'm hesitant on this, and I fall in the same trap I try to dissuade others from falling into, which is when I've tested these tools, I test them so early that a lot of times they're not any good. So when
Yeah.
I've tried to do spreadsheets before, they're just not good. I've been creating spreadsheets for a year and a half now or something like that with generative AI, and they've always been bad. And so I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, but it's not good. Which Jaeden is exactly the same thing I tell people not to do. So I'm kind of this is kind of like preaching to myself here to go back and try it. We'll see. I think a lot of people are kind of like getting like really caught up in the Perplexity thing. I'll go try it. I'll try it again.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice, though, because I've definitely fallen into that trap. You try something early, like Operator when it first came out, and I was like, it's not quite there. And then they come up with the new update on Operator with the new model,
That's
the
right.
new
Yeah.
reasoning model, and I'm like, oh, but I'm like, actually, it probably can do what I need it to do now. So you got to retry these things. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. If you learned anything or if you got anything out of the episode today, the number one thing that we would appreciate for Father's Day, which is coming up very soon, as Conor mentioned, is a review on the podcast. It would make our day. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time.